Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're plunging into a stack of sources making some really strong claims about platforms most of us use every day: YouTube, other Google services.
That's right. And the material, well, it lays out this picture of what it calls widespread manipulation, happening behind the scenes, apparently affecting creators, affecting what users like you actually see.
Okay, so our mission here is pretty clear. We're going to unpack these sources, really dig into the specific claims they make about how these platforms supposedly operate, what happens with metrics, visibility, all that stuff.
Exactly. And what the sources argue you are really seeing, or maybe what you're intentionally not seeing. We're sticking just to the material provided, exploring the assertions it makes.
And they definitely don't hold back, do they?
Not at all. They paint let's say, a stark picture, suggesting very little is actually as it appears on these platforms.
Okay, so with that kind of setup, let's get into the specifics. How do these sources say this manipulation actually plays out? What's their, central point?
Well, the core claim, and it's pretty loud and clear in these sources, is that YouTube manipulates all metrics and all engagement.
All of it. Views, likes, comments.
Everything, according to them. They assert absolutely everything is subject to manipulation.
Wow. Everything. So does that mean, the view count I see on a video could be different from what you see?
That's precisely what they claim, yes. The sources say metrics and what you see are, and this is a quote, pretty much private to the account that's logged in. It's all tied to the profile YouTube has supposedly built on you.
Huh. So your reality on YouTube could be, totally different from someone else's.
Yeah.
That sort of personalized manipulation bubble. That's wild to think about.
It is, and the sources offer up a specific case study they use as, well, key evidence for this idea. Remember that video stuck at 4 views?
Right, that example. Tell us about that one again.
Yeah, it's a central story in the material. The source talks about creating a video discussing what they call Big Pharma's playbook. They claim this video just got stuck. Exactly 4 views, wouldn't move.
Even if they tried watching it more, from different places.
That's what they assert. They say they watched it repeatedly from another browser, used a VPN to look like a new viewer, and the view either vanished after a few minutes or, they claim, just never showed up at all.
Okay, and the sources take away from that specific incident.
Let's examine how YouTube fakes engagement on, well, literally everything. Check this out. I wanted to take a new browser and see what my channel looked like. So I installed the new browser, I installed a proxy, so it doesn't have any cookies, it's never been used, and I search for my channel and I come up with this right here. Okay, look at this. It's been there for 13 hours and is showing no views. Okay, this right here is fake engagement number 1. They don't want people to see that you have views. They want people to think that you don't have any views, so they don't want to watch it. This is not a clip. This is intentional because you could recreate it over and over and over again. I have seen some of my videos on there that have been 7 to 10 days old and shown no views. Okay, so this is intentional. So let's click on it and see what happens. Oh, it wants you to sign in. This is trick number 2 to try to make you give up because you don't want to sign in. Hey, look, it's showing 1 view. That's trick number 3. Hey, check this out. There's now 4 views. This is trick number 4. Okay, this is the creator back end of YouTube. It typically takes about a minute and a half for the view to come up on the back end here. Okay, there's a view. Now what? It's almost like a magic trick. Okay, so right now we've been watching the video for 2 minutes and 35 seconds. Now watch what happens. Keep your eye on the view, okay? You counted it, it's showing it right here on the back end. But watch. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to close the page. I've been watching it for nearly 3 minutes, right? So I was obviously counted the view. It's on the back end. Oh, it's gone. The views are completely gone. Okay, you watch a video for 3 minutes and it just disappears. I can recreate this as many times as I want. I got like 5 of these videos where I've done the same thing and the view disappears every fucking time. But sometimes they don't even count it, and sometimes I get there. Notice how 45 seconds this error comes up. I've had this error pop up at least a half a dozen times doing this same thing. Oh, but notice, now there's 3 views, 5 days. So the views went down over time. Everything is skewed on this fucking platform. None of the metrics even work. They're all fake. They're all skewed.
What conclusion did they draw?
Their conclusion was, and again, quoting the source here, that this is direct proof the video is 100% accurate and YouTube doesn't want people figuring out how Big Pharma really works.
And they connect that to Google itself.
They do. They immediately point out that, in their words, Google is one of the largest investors in the medical industrial complex. So they're drawing a direct line between the alleged suppression and potential financial motives.
Right. So a specific video, specific alleged suppression, tied to a specific claimed motive.
That's the connection the source makes, explicitly. And they stress this isn't just a one-off thing. They claim it's much bigger, stating it's not just this one. They manipulate every video in every way possible.
They really don't mince words, do they? The language used in these sources to describe YouTube, it's intense.
It really is. The material is full of phrases like, every web page on YouTube is a fraud, or everything is skewed, and engagement on YouTube is blatantly fake.
Blatantly fake? How so?
Well, they even suggest that when you, say, make a comment or hit like, it might only be visible to you. They call that fake engagement. The overall conclusion they reach from all this, everything on YouTube is an illusion.
Everything on YouTube is an illusion. That's quite a statement, especially if you're a creator trying to build something genuine or a user just trying to figure out what's popular or what's real.
Exactly. If these sources are right, if metrics and comments and all that are manipulated, it completely changes how you'd have to think about interacting with the platform, right?
It really does. Okay, but the sources don't just leave it at that big, broad claim. They try to break down how this supposedly happens, right? They list specific tactics.
Absolutely. They get into the weeds, detailing several specific methods they claim are used. First up is fake view counts, which kind of builds on that earlier example.
Right. So how else do they claim views are faked?
Well, they allege views can just disappear or even decrease days later. They also talk about discrepancies, between the public number you see and what's in the back-end analytics, like Creator Studio.
Claiming the back-end often shows fewer views.
Often fewer, yes. And they also mention views doing weird things, like spiking really fast and then just dropping off a cliff unnaturally. They see that as filtering, maybe, or throttling. That Big Pharma video example fits right in here.
So it's not just about low numbers, but views acting in ways that seem artificial controlled. That's the source's argument. Okay, what's next on that list?
Shadow suppression. This is the idea that videos get intentionally hidden from, say, the recommended sidebar. Even your own videos might not show up on your own channel page recommendations, they claim.
And channel recommendations too.
Yeah, they allege channel recommendations get suppressed in search or other places. The goal, they say, is to actively funnel users away from certain creators or content, point them somewhere else.
So the algorithm itself is claimed to be directing traffic away from certain things.
That's the assertion in the material. Then there's unfair search visibility.
Meaning hard to find stuff.
Exactly. Videos being hidden or buried in search results, even if you type in the exact title. They also mention seeing those bot verification things pop up before certain videos play, or getting unexpected error messages partway through.
The unexpected error message. We've all seen those. The sources think those are intentional.
They claim they are, yeah. Deliberate disruptions, maybe even timed to specific points in a video designed to stop you watching. They also bring up inconsistent video metrics again here.
More numbers not adding up.
Pretty much, like seeing different view counts for the same video if you check it in different browsers or incognito mode. And that Creator Studio showing fewer views than the public count that's used as more evidence here too.
So checking the numbers yourself gives conflicting results, suggesting the data itself is just unreliable according to these sources.
That's the implication they draw, yeah. Then there's one that sounds, well, particularly concerning for creators. The punishment algorithm.
Punishment algorithm, what's that supposed to do?
The sources claim that if you post what they call controversial content, and they bring up that big pharma video again, your whole channel's views can tank, not just the one video.
Your entire channel for one video.
That's the claim. They describe it as built-in vindictiveness, like one video triggers this throttling effect across your other content too.
Wow. So posting something the platform allegedly dislikes could, the sources say, just cripple your channel's reach entirely.
That's the severe claim they're making. It ties into this broader idea they mention of view and engagement throttling, where even successful videos might get held back, showing those sharp, unnatural drops, especially after some controversial content appears.
This punishment algorithm idea really underscores the source's point about the platform being untrustworthy for creators, doesn't it?
Right.
Making it impossible to know why your reach suddenly changes.
It definitely feeds that narrative. But the sources, they don't just stop at YouTube videos. They broaden the accusations out to other Google services. Gmail, Google Voice.
Right. What do they claim about those? Let's start with Gmail.
Okay, so under Gmail censorship, the sources claim they actually caught Gmail fake sending emails.
Fake sending? How?
They give an example. Sending an email with a specific link related to Stu Peters in this case. They claim the email showed as sent in their outbox, but they assert it never actually arrived at the recipient's inbox.
And their conclusion from that alleged incident.
They use it as, quote, direct proof they're scanning and reading everything and basically filtering your private communications based on content, links, whatever. They see it as manipulating the very act of sending an email.
All right, let me tell you what happened with this fucking trick. This was years ago, too. So it's only gotten worse, and this is what they was doing years ago. Remember the Hunter Biden laptop story when that first broke? That's when this all happened. Stu Peters did a very good video on that, exposing it for what it was. So I wanted to share his video with my boss. So I crafted an email for him and sent it. Hey, check this out. You'll get a kick out of this video. Oh, it showed sent. Looked like a regular email that you would write anybody else, and click the send button and it's sent. When you send an email, what do you normally do? Go over to the sent folder and check it out. Hey, there it is, sent. When I get up to work, which is not too far away, I said, hey, did you get that email? No. And he showed it to me on the screen that it wasn't even there. So a couple hours later, I wound up going back to my place and I resent it to him. Come back. Still wasn't there. He still never got it. Okay, so I went back a little bit later, and I fired off 4 or 5 of them the same email. And one of them got through. So out of like 7 emails with that link in it to a Stu Peters video on Rumble, 1 email got there. Okay? The conclusion was they're reading your email, and if they don't like what's in it, like a link to a video, that was, get this, later turned out to be found true. This is where it gets really disgusting on their part. So they're ghosting emails, fake sending them, making you feel like they sent these emails when they never actually sent anything. Okay? How fucking low is that? Okay? What if this was an important email and Google decided that they was just going to fake send it and you thought it was sent? What if it was a life and death situation and they fake sent the email? This is what kind of company you're fucking dealing with. And then there's another one. Google Voice ain't no better. You can't trust that one either because anybody can do this. I bet you can still do this to this day. I haven't tried lately, but even back then, years ago, I would send links to myself using Google Voice. And it was a VK link. And it would show sent, never got there. Resend it, never got there. It'll show sent on a VK.com link, but it'll never fucking send it. I found out, though, that if I put a space between VK and then the .com, the link would get there because it wasn't VK.com. They will ghost send a VK.com link. Look like it's sent, shows that it's sent. It was never sent. You can't trust any of these platforms for anything of any value.
So the claim is censorship extends beyond just platform visibility into your private messages being blocked without you knowing.
That's the serious allegation, yes. And they claim something similar happens with Google Voice, alleging it fake sends text messages too.
Same pattern.
Same alleged pattern. The example is trying to text a VK.com link. Shows as sent on the phone, they claim, but the recipient never gets it. Deceptive transmission, filtering across different services.
Okay, what about settings, like privacy toggles?
Yeah, this is another big one for the sources. They call it fake toggle settings. They allege that settings you know you've disabled for privacy, for tracking, can just mysteriously switch themselves back on.
Mysteriously re-enable.
Yeah.
Without you doing anything.
Correct. And the sources are very explicit here. They say this is designed to gaslight users.
Gaslight.
Yeah, to make you doubt yourself. Did I really turn that off? Am I misremembering? That kind of thing. An intentional psychological effect, they claim.
Making you question your own actions and reality within the platform.
That's how the sources frame it. And related to that, they also claim tracking despite off settings happens.
Meaning, even if the toggle says off, the tracking is still on.
That's the assertion. That disabling tracking or personalization doesn't actually stop it. That the toggles are just an illusion of control, not actual control over your data.
An illusion of control.
I learned that dirty trick off Android phones. When I first get a phone, I spend hours going in there and shutting off all of their garbage. Come back 2 hours later, all of their garbage is turned on again. And you can even ask ChatGPT about flipping the little toggle switches, and they're only there as an illusion that you actually shut them off. None of that shit is actually shut off. It's all just an illusion to make you feel like you shut it off. With Android phones, I finally did figure out how to eliminate Google altogether. You use a program called ADB, Android Debug Bridge, in order to delete everything Google. I actually have an Android phone now with nothing Google in it. I deleted every single app that Google put on it, including the dialer, the messages, the camera, all of it. And I use custom apps for it. Now when I have a phone and I'm not plugged into something to charge it, it doesn't use any battery because there's none of Google ratware running in the fucking background because I deleted it all with ADB. That is the only way to get rid of it. And the newer phones have another trick built in, that if you accidentally delete a file with like ADB or something like that, you can't factory reset it without special software and a laptop and Microsoft garbageware in it. So I will not have one of those phones. I return them and say they're defective. But the shyster tactics don't stop there. Google also tracks you with what's called password-based account linking. Okay, so you get a new account. Do you change your password? Or do you maybe change just a couple letters, couple numbers, and is somewhat similar? They track you that way as well.
And that connects to other data exploitation claims too.
It does. They mentioned something called password-based account linking. The idea is if you use similar passwords across different Google services or even totally separate online accounts, Google can figure that out and link those accounts behind the scenes, even if they have different recovery emails or whatever.
So another way to build up that user profile, they claim, even across things you think are separate.
That's how the sources see it. Another method of data exploitation.
Oh, okay. So stepping back, Based on these sources, the alleged manipulation isn't just about videos. It's about your private messages, your settings, your data. It's a really comprehensive claim about control.
It's a very wide-ranging picture the sources paint, absolutely. Alleged control across multiple layers of how you interact with Google's ecosystem.
Let's zoom out then. What are the bigger implications the sources draw from all these alleged tactics? You mentioned psychological manipulation, the gaslighting bit.
Yes, they explicitly frame these tactics as psychological manipulation. The toggles, flipping back on. Built-in gaslighting, the metrics changing over time. That makes you doubt your memory, they say. Those error messages, deliberate frustration tactics.
So the sources see these not just as bugs, but as intentional design choices, meant to affect how users feel, how much they trust the platform, maybe even how they behave.
That's the very strong interpretation presented in the material, yes. And they claim the ultimate goal, or at least the ultimate outcome of all this, is the suppression of dissent non-mainstream voices.
Okay, how do they connect the dots? How do fake views or weird errors lead to suppressing dissent, according to them?
Well, they see it as both a direct consequence and sometimes the actual intent. They compare alternative platforms, like BitChute with YouTube. They claim that sometimes BitChute channels, even with way fewer subscribers, seem to outperform YouTube channels on similar non-mainstream topics.
That's just a fact. On BitChute, I got 15 subscribers, and every single video outperforms YouTube, where I have 930 subscribers.
And they interpret that
as evidence that YouTube is intentionally downranking dissenting voices. They call it alternative media deprioritized. The argument is that the algorithms aren't neutral. They're biased against certain viewpoints.
Got it. And this ties back to the punishment algorithm idea, too.
Exactly. They argue the platform punishes truth tellers. If content challenges the establishment, that farm example comes up again, it gets algorithmically punished, they claim.
One of the biggest topics in the Big Pharma video that they don't want you to know about is the hidden payload that they put in all of these new drugs now. They don't want to fucking cure you. They want to create a fucking problem down the road. So all of their new drugs have what's called a hidden payload. And that's to make you sick or need another treatment in a certain way. So you've got to come back to them and get another treatment with another hidden payload, and the cycle continues until you have no money left and you're dead. Wouldn't want that information getting out, now would they? And the latest vindictive dirty trick is now when I try to upload a new video, I keep getting like DOS attack, where my internet connection keeps getting shut off while I'm trying to upload a new video to YouTube now. ChatGPT confirmed that this is not by accident and told me to use a proxy. Now when I use a proxy, it uploads just fine. But it only happens on YouTube. My BitChute videos upload just fine. So it's intentional, vindictive, crashing your fucking connection.
The source's blunt take is that on these platforms, truth is treated as a threat.
Truth is treated as a threat. That's a really powerful summary of their perspective on why all this alleged manipulation might be happening. Control the narrative, essentially.
That seems to be their core argument for the motive. And given all these claims, their overall judgment of Google and its services is pretty severe.
They don't hold back, we established that. How do they summarize it?
Well, I'll paraphrase because the original language is quite harsh.
Now, what I've learned in life is when I run onto these dirty tricks, I document this shit so I can later reference it and add to it as time goes on. I recommend everybody else do that as well.
But they basically label Google as completely untrustworthy, dishonest, biased, manipulative. They use very strong terms suggesting moral corruption, even criminality. It's a sweeping condemnation based on the patterns they claim to have observed.
Okay, so we've laid out what these specific sources claim. Let's bring it back to you, the listener. What does all this mean?
Yeah, if the information you encounter online, the videos recommended, the engagement you see, if any of that is potentially being shaped or controlled in the ways these sources allege, why should you care?
If metrics are potentially faked, if search hides things, if your settings aren't really yours, how does that impact creators trying to connect authentically?
And for you as a user, how might it affect just finding information, especially maybe on topics the sources think are being deliberately pushed down? It raises some pretty fundamental questions based on this material about reliability and neutrality.
Definitely food for thought.
Does anybody see this getting any better with time? Of course not.
So, just to recap, we've taken a deep dive into these sources. explored their claims of widespread manipulation across YouTube and Google.
We covered the alleged tactics, fake views, shadow suppression, search issues, those fake toggles, email and text filtering claims, with the whole list.
And we looked at the source's conclusion, that this all serves to suppress dissent, create an illusion of control, and ultimately treats, in their words, truth as a threat.
And don't even get me started on Google's fake search engine that's completely skewed, biased, and manipulated in every way possible.
You know, another strange thing about this, and I actually reached out to Jim Hoft about this, when I was looking into this story, and it broke earlier today, the only thing that came up, and there's different means and methods to using search engine optimization to get desired results, and you know, our crew is so good at that. That's why people are so shocked, because it is kind of a skill. And when we have guests on and people are so shocked at how fast our crew operates, well, our crew has really skilled at search engine optimization. And so it's keywords and phrases and just learning how to use these things to get the desired results and find the thing you're looking for. Well, why am I talking about this? Well, when I was researching this earlier today, and I'm very good at search engine optimization. It kind of is, you kind of have to be to work here, actually. You kind of have to be, like, the best at it. And so I'm looking at this, and I'm not getting any results. Like, nothing at all. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, I guess nobody's covering this story? Is that what this is? Really? That can't be the case. So all I could find was the official DOJ, the official government website press release. So then I go through just my normal routine, you know, InfoWars, the Gateway Pundit, all this other stuff. And, of course, what do I find? I find that other outlets are covering it. So what's my point here? Folks, Google is still completely rigging its search results. And I'm not, okay, oh, wow, breaking news, Owen. Yeah, we already knew that. I know we already knew that, but I'm like, how bad is it really? And then how does this affect the average American that doesn't know anything that's going on in the world of politics and just assumes, hey, I'm using Google. If I search it, I'll find it. If I don't, it's not there. They've got these sites completely blacklisted, folks. Completely blacklisted. And then I went and I even tried, and I was like, okay, because I was reading the Gateway Pundit story, and I plugged in the exact Gateway Pundit headline. It still wouldn't give me the result. So they just blacklist websites. I'm sure InfoWars is blacklisted. The Gateway Pundit is blacklisted. You bastards over there at Google, you sons of bitches. What the hell's your problem?
Based purely on these detailed claims we've explored today, straight from the sources, here's a final thought for you to consider. How does hearing these specific allegations about potential online control change how you might evaluate what you see and what you click on next time you're using these major platforms?
And because YouTube is going to highly censor this video because they don't want the truth of this getting out, I'm going to leave the comments open. So whatever you see for a view count, please put it down in the comments because there's probably not going to get any views. Mysteriously, by accident, coincidentally, actually on purpose.